All right, it looks like we're live. Sorry, there was a little bit of technical difficulties there for just a second, so we're like a minute late. But yeah, so in this video, what I'm going to be talking about is if you're creating content in 2025 the same way that you were in 2024, you may be falling behind. But in this video, I'm going to share with you 10 tweaks to be able to help improve your content this year. So let's go ahead and get right into the tips. Let's go ahead. Let me just make sure everything's good here. Sorry, I'm like moving 100 miles an hour right now. So let me just make sure that everything is where it needs to be at and we are good, right? So the tweak number one, you probably heard it, but this is a little bit of a twist to it, right? So you obviously need to make sure that you pick a niche. Well, why is it important? Everybody hears you that you need to niche down or niche down. Let me know how you say it down in the comments, but I usually say it like to niche down. That's just, I think that's the way that I've always just said it. But anyways, yeah, you want to definitely pick a niche. And the reason why is if you go too broad, especially whenever you're just starting out, it's going to be a lot harder for you to grow because you're competing with other people. And so, and also this day and age, people are looking for more specialists, especially if you're in like the education space. You're more likely, if you want to make a business out of this, you're definitely going to make more money if you are appealing to a specific type of niche versus trying to go more broad, because the broader that you go, the broader the audience that you're going to attract, and you may actually attract people that aren't interested in actually buying. So again, it's really important to pick a niche, but also to stay flexible, right? So as you're creating content, that you're going to discover things about yourself. I know that I have anyways, and you're going to want to be flexible. There may be a point in time where you feel like you need to pivot ever so slightly, but you want to definitely just make sure that you're really, when you're picking your niche, I don't know that, I guess I can go through how to pick your niche, but I would definitely pick something that there is a market need for, right? So obviously if there's something like, for example, people like photography. There's a need. People want to learn photography. There's video editing. People want to learn video editing. That's a market need there. And then you also want it to be something that you're passionate about, but you also want to make sure that it's something that you are good at or you have some sort of a background in. Especially here on YouTube these days, there's a lot of information that's not that great, or it feels like it's just copy and pasted from ChatGPT. So if you have some experience and a background in what you're doing, you're already going to be a foot ahead of a lot of the competition, or we'll call it competition, but we'll say other creators on the platform. So next is that you want to dominate one platform first. I see this happen too often. I've made this mistake as well. I've tried to grow my YouTube channel, tried to grow my TikTok account, and try to also grow my Instagram. And you've heard I don't know if you've ever heard it before, but I don't know who said it, but the guy that said it was, if you chase two rabbits, you end up catching none. So my recommendation is to dominate one platform first, and then the other social platforms will grow easily, right? Because you can send a lot of people from your main platform over to those other platforms and they'll grow as well. This doesn't have to just be YouTube. You can start on Instagram. You can start on Twitter or X now. You can start on TikTok. The sky's the limit. And especially if you're just getting started, TikTok and Instagram might be the easiest path of least resistance to get, starting with short form content. So, but dominate on one platform first. You try to grow all your social media platforms. You're going to be putting the algorithms operate a little bit differently. And it's just going to lead to a state of burnout, especially if you're just operating by yourself. At least it has for me. So I recommend dominate one platform first, and then you can start focusing on other platforms, expanding your reach on other platforms after you've dominated one. Next, we're going to analyze content like a scientist. Well, what does that mean? Well, when you are looking at content and like trying to come up with new ideas, after you pick your niche, you're going to be looking and you're going to consume content, and you want to kind of see where the attention is in your niche, right? So views typically equal attention, right? Especially in a short amount of time. That's where you have outlier theory and stuff like that. But what you're looking for is like patterns within your niche, and you're seeing like, what are the editing things? Like, what are the specific things that are said? Like, what calls to actions are getting people to buy products in that niche? But you want to analyze content like a scientist. And it's just like, because what you're going to be doing is you're going to take those bits and pieces and you're going to start coming up with your own experiments and your own hypothesis. And as you test those hypotheses, some things will work and you'll hold on to them, but then there will be other hypotheses that you have that aren't going to work, and you'll get some feedback. That, again, social media is just like one big feedback loop, and it happens whether it's positive feedback where you're getting a lot of views or you're getting a lot of engagement, or it's negative feedback where you're not getting any views or you're not getting any engagement. And that can be a blessing and a curse for your mental health. But I recommend looking at things like a scientist and treating each piece of content that you create or you're coming up with as an experiment and striving to get just 1% better with each video. I know you've been watching any of the YouTube help guys that's said often, just successfulizing your next video and strive to get 1% better each time. But treat each thing that you're working with as an experiment. Next, we have start before you're ready, because you'll never feel ready. All right. So perfectionism is procrastination in disguise. You're never going to be ready. You're never going to feel ready. The time is never going to be right for you to decide to start a YouTube channel or to start posting videos on TikTok or Instagram. Just jump in with both feet and figure it out as you go. I don't think that because for me anyways, I have a perfectionism mentality that I've continued to try to improve at. I think everybody has pieces of that, because I think that being a bit of a perfectionist just means that you care about what your stuff is. And, again, the argument to that is some people just say you might be insecure or you have fear of failure and stuff like that. Well, the way I look at it is that regardless of what it is, I think that it is something that we all deal with, but the only way to get past it is just to jump in with both feet and then to start creating content. And because I know, guys, and I did this as well for a long time, I put off making my first YouTube video because I was worried about what other people were going to say. But the moment that I decided to just hit record and start posting videos, that quickly was gone. Like after a few videos, I wasn't getting any views and stuff like that. But again, I stopped worrying about what other people were thinking. And then I just kept going and kept going. And, I wasn't that fear of, pressing record and stuff slowly dwindled away. And at this point in time now, it's just a matter of like making sure that I have the time to do it. That's the hardest part now. It's like, I always want to be able to hop on camera and talk and hang out with you guys, but I don't always have the time to be able to do so. So that's the hard part now, which I'll touch on in just a bit, I believe. Right. So the next thing is to network and make creator friends. And I'm sure you're probably saying to yourself, well, Tyler, it's easier for you to say. You have a bigger channel. Other people are more willing to listen and engage with you. Well, what I would recommend, I would tell you this. You hear all the time, it's like you should start like a YouTube mastermind. And that advice, I think, is great advice, but they don't really tell you the how. Like you hear the why it's important, but you don't ever really hear how to do it. Well, I'll tell you how I've done it. Now, the first way that I've done it is going through like Facebook groups. And a lot of these are just free Facebook groups. That's the first step. But the best results that I've had is going through like paid communities where I've like paid and done courses and learned about YouTube or whatever platform that I've been working on. And that's where I've actually found people, because those people, don't get me wrong, you could probably find good people, but I've found really good people in paid communities because those people are taking content a lot more seriously than people that are just like on a free like YouTube growth group and stuff like that. But I mean, that's neither here nor there. You will find people. It's just, it may take you a little bit more time to find someone that's serious. But I love the guys that we have a group chat. We talk every single day, like at least through text, and we meet up once a week and discuss like any questions that we have, like wins that we have, things that we've learned. And we're all just trying to network and help one another. And these guys are in other niches as well. They're not just in my space. So, again, I recommend finding a creator friend, someone that can help. Like they even make sure that I like little things, right? So like getting up in the morning and working out, we all text one another and like, hey, are you up and moving? Or we send a picture just to like show somebody that hold us accountable that we're actually doing what we say we're going to do. So finding yourself some good creator friends, some people to network with, is like, it's a shortcut or it's a hack to being able to grow, because they're going to share, like, especially when you become friends with other creators that have bigger platforms than you do, they'll be able to share with you and things that they've learned along the way, and you can share with them things that you've learned. And it's just like you're getting that feedback without having to learn from it, like make the mistake yourself. So having some creator friends and networking is super beneficial. The way that you can do this is going through free Facebook groups. There's also other platforms like school.com is a place where SKOOL.com. If you've seen any of Alex Hormozi's content, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But there's a lot of different communities on there that you can become a part of. Some of them are free, some of them are paid. And you are definitely going to find people that are in there that are looking for other people to network with. So if you don't have anybody locally that you can get in contact with as a creator and they kind of help you with this process, then I definitely recommend doing it online. and go to conferences and stuff. Like I went to Vid Summit 2 years ago and I made some good friends. Some of the people that I'm friends with, like in my like network group, I actually met at Vid Summit and hung out with them, was talking to them and creating content with them as well. And so find people that, you know, that are interested in really taking this serious. And it's like, it's a hack to being able to create content and to make better content. Next, we want to set goals like a pro. And now before we're not talking smart goals here. Like I don't want to be that guy, you know, smart goals are they're important, but like the way that I look at goals is not just like looking at it as a SMART goal. I look at it like, so you have an outcome-based goal. So I'll give you an example. Like I want to hit 100,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel, right? Let's say that's my goal. And then the next is going to be like performance and skill-based targets, right? So you have your outcome goal, and then like what skills do I need to acquire to be able to reach that goal, right? So I need to be able to make better thumbnails. I need to improve my CTR. I need to improve my watch time on my YouTube channel. That way I can get people to watch for longer. The algorithm recommends more of my content. And then what is the process, or that like the actual process for doing that, right? So you need a system, right? So you need your outcome base, you need your actual skills that you need to acquire, and then you need a goal for like what your process is going to be. And your process is going to be your systems. Systems are the things that get you to show up even on the days when you don't want to. When you come up with a system, it's like just running an experiment, right? So you have the system for how you do things. And so this could be like posting one video a week for the next 6 months, and then figuring out what that looks like on the other side and ways that you need to improve your content. But you want to set goals the right way, right? So, you know, you want to make sure that you have a plan. We've all heard that, you know, if you have no plan, you plan to fail. And a goal without a plan is only a wish. So not just looking at SMART goals. SMART goals are important. Do your goals that way, but don't forget about specific skills that you're trying to acquire. Because if you think of life like a video game, right? And you're going out on a quest somewhere, you need, how do you, like, whenever I was a kid, I used to play Pokemon. I wanted, you know, I needed to level up and I needed to train. I needed to like get to a certain level before I could actually move forward and win certain gym badges and things like that. And eventually what happens with Pokemon, they evolve over time. And I know this for some of you might sound kind of weird, but you as a person evolve over time when it comes to whether it's personally or if it's professionally, right? So you acquire those new skills as you're moving along the way. And the way that you get there to those skills is to come up with those specific processes and tasks, like not really necessarily tasks, but think of it more like a system for like how you do things, right? Because if you're trying to come up with every single day, like a system for how you're going to do something, if you have nothing to really follow, like kind of like a checklist as you're creating content, you're quickly going to get burnt out because you're going to it's going to be left, your mind's going to have to think a lot harder. Whereas if you follow like a checklist or a process for how to create your content, you're going to be much more likely to do it because you know that you're just following the system and you just need to fill in the blanks. So hopefully that's helpful. I know setting goals is not something that big thing that people want to hear. It's like, oh my gosh, that's not like life-changing advice, but that's what kind of helped me really think about goals better, at least for creating content. And on top of that, the next thing is to adopt a growth mindset, right? So YouTube is not something that it is something that can be incredibly taxing on your mental health. I mean, any content that you create, not just YouTube. Like if you post a video on TikTok and it gets no views, you're like, how are all these videos going viral? And then my video gets like 1 view. How do I actually, it can make you feel hopeless. But when you adopt a growth mindset, you don't get so caught up. You look at, for me, going back to what I was talking about with like perfectionism being procrastination in disguise, and perfectionism being like just kind of fear of criticism or just the fear of failure. Well, when you adopt a growth mindset, you almost completely break through that because you're no longer look at failure the same way. You look at failure as an opportunity to like get feedback and also to learn and grow. And so the way that I think about failing is that when you fail, it's actually something that's beneficial. Like obviously it's one of those things that's not taught very often, is like, if you fail at something, you're typically looked bad at, you're looked down on for failing at something, right? That's what we all worry about. But when you adopt a growth mindset, that failure, you got that feedback. So now that you'll always have that and you always remember it, and you'll know how to, as long as you remember and you apply what you've learned to the new thing, you will improve each time, right? So having a growth mindset when it comes to creating content is like, whenever your video doesn't get any views, is like, don't necessarily get so focused on that one, that view, the number, the vanity metrics, the things that, you know, give us that dopamine, and try to find your dopamine from saying, hey, I uploaded a video today. And, you know, regardless if it got views, I created something. That's what I wanted to do. And it's like, it was more about the process of creating rather than the feedback that I got for the content. Let the feedback, you know, Rick Rubin talks about, like, when you create art, let it be for you, not for the feedback. And if the world loves it, then the world loves it. So I think I probably screwed that all up, but adopt a growth mindset, because YouTube is a long game. And if you don't have that growth mindset, it's really hard to make YouTube or content creation sustainable because of how taxing it is on your mental health. Next is embrace the dip. So I just read a book by Seth Godin, The Dip. If you've read it, you know it's a great book. I don't want to spoil the book, but it, you know, what it talks about is that there's three curves in life, right? There is the cul-de-sac, which is what is the dead end job or something that just constant spiral that nothing ever changes. And then there's the dip, and the dip is found in all things that are looked at as worthwhile, right? So hobbies, or starting a business, or starting a YouTube channel, everything has a dip. And then the other one is it's the cliff, right? In the cliff, they talk about like how it's like where things are looking up, and then all out of nowhere, there's just like a steep drop off, and it's like this terrible thing, right? Now, what we want to just keep in mind is that the dip is going to be found in all things that we pursue. So the book talks about, like, you want to quit things before it's too late, because if you quit in the dip, what you're going to do is you're going to waste a bunch of time, and you're going to spend your whole life kind of like spinning your wheels, right? So when it comes to the dip, how does this apply to creating content? Well, creating content, there is a dip associated with it, right? So in the beginning, it's fun and all. You're like, yeah, I'm making content. You know, I might not be getting any views, but it's cool because I'm posting things on social media. And then all of a sudden, time goes by, and then you hit like a plateau, and it's no longer fun anymore. I've experienced this firsthand. I'm still kind of going through it a little bit right now, but I think all creators will deal with this, right? There's always be like a dip in like pursuit of what you want. And in the book, it talks about success is typically found on the other side of the dip. And the only way to reach success is to be the best at what you're doing, right? So in the way that Seth Godin talks about being the best is like, there is, and again, I don't want to like go on a tangent or anything like that, but like, you want to try to be the best at what you're doing, because like you're going to have to get through that dip. And going through that dip is like, there's going to be some stuff that is going to test you, right? So that's why it's important to have that growth mindset, that you're constantly moving forward, right? So I'll lead into the next things, right? Be the best or be forgotten, right? So a lot of people will look at this and be like, wow, like on YouTube, I don't, you know, how can I be the best, right? Whenever there's Mr. Beast and there's Peter McKinnon and there's all these creators and these different niches that are like just massive. They have these big teams. Well, what it talks about, this is talked about in the dip as well, is how whenever you strive to be the best at something, you're not doing it from like, I don't look at it for selfish reasons, but let's say that you're in the YouTube education space. What you want to do is you want to deliver the highest amount of value that you can possibly give, right? So in pursuit of mastery of what you are trying to be, like maybe a photographer, maybe a videographer, and you're creating a YouTube channel where you create content, like educating people that want to learn about that specific thing. What you want to do is be the best. You want to deliver the highest quality service possible. Because if you look at yourself like a person that is a guide for your audience, you want them to have the best, highest quality information they could possibly receive. So that's what it is talking about in the dip. Is like, there's a huge difference between number 1 and number 10. It's like literally 10 times the difference. And there's an example that they talk about in the book where they compared like everybody's favorite ice cream. So like number 1 was vanilla, number 2 was chocolate. I think number 3 was like strawberry, and so on and so forth, right? But whenever you compared like number 1 to number 2, some people would think, well, that's probably pretty close, right? I know people that like chocolate ice cream, but I know people that like chocolate or vanilla ice cream as well. That wasn't the case. There was a extremely huge like difference in number 1 and 2. And that stuff happens in music. It happens in everything, right? So you get rewarded for being number one. And so what I'm getting at whenever it comes to like this with creating content is like, I try to think from a place of like service, and I try to deliver the highest quality service possible for my audience in order for them to reap the benefits from that. And in pursuit of me trying to be like the number one, authority in that specific niche. Now, is that going to always be easy? No, but that's part of what the dip is. And you find your way along the way. So again, try to be the best, or be the best, or be forgotten. And that's what I kind of like go off of, is like, people don't necessarily like, it's you're battling for, if you're a creator, you're trying to get viewers' attention. And whenever you're getting their attention, we want the attention that they're giving us to be worth their time, instead of just being something that's clickbait. And, and that's what it comes back to, like being the best, or being the highest service possible. And then create for yourself first. Now, I've made this mistake. I don't think that you are going to find this sustainable content creation if you are not doing something that you are passionate about, like truly passionate about, and you're not creating content that you want to create. Like, so going back to what I was talking about a little bit earlier with outlier theory, or like trying to make videos that go viral. When it comes to viral content, typically what you go viral for, if you make a viral piece of video, is what you become known for. And if you go viral for something that you weren't really like it's not something that you want to be known for, or like you would be proud of being known for, then I would really think about making that piece of content. Like, it might be something that's easy to do. It might be easy to make a piece of content that could go viral, but is it something that you're going to be passionate about, or is it something that you want to make? And also, when it comes to just for longevity on the platform, you always want to, you hear like in the YouTube help space, it's like, make content that people want to watch. Like, and so what'll happen, at least for me, is I will look at what other creators are making, and I'll be like, okay, well, these are some good ideas on topics and things that I could talk about based from my experience. But then there's also some things that I don't see, or some things that I just want to make myself, and I feel like that I should make. Because what'll happen is, whenever you're creating for yourself first, you're going to attract the audience that you actually want. If you create all these things that other people are creating, you're going to attract an audience that you don't really understand or know. But whenever you're creating content that you want to make, it's going to, and for yourself first, right? So this would be with each piece of content that you're making, is it something that you actually want to create, or are you creating it just because you want to get views, right? And like there has to be a balance there. I get it. Like, you don't want to just you can't just create all these random abstract things and expect them to perform very well on YouTube. Maybe they will, maybe they don't, but create for yourself first, and you're going to be much, much happier with the content that you're making and the audience that you've built. All right. Those are my 10 tips. If there's any questions, let me know down in the chat real quick. And if you're watching on the replay, let me know down in the comments. I hope this was helpful. Again, I apologize for being a little bit late. Again, if you guys you stopped in, it's one of those things that it's like a big pet peeve of mine, is just to be on time. And so, yeah, if you guys have any questions, let me know down in the chat. Otherwise, we will call it good from there. Hope you guys are having a good Friday. Or hopefully you got some good weekend plans as well. I'm probably going to take it easy here. We got some videos filmed last weekend, so I'll probably be doing a little bit of editing as well. But yeah. All right. Well, if you guys don't have any questions, again, if you do have questions and you're watching the replay, let me know down in the comments, and I will respond to them as well. But if you don't have any right now on stream, I'll see you guys in the next video. You guys have a good weekend.